Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Momitra Bekon. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Ranil's UK trip was not an official visit. Attorney General informs court. Case adjourned to the 29th of April. Second suspect in Ranil's public property case, Saman Ekanaika, remanded until the 11th of February. Notices issued to former President Gotabaya and a group of former ministers. 4 people killed to cover up Lasantha Vikramatunga's murder, says brother Lal Vikramatunga. IMF representatives meet President, programmed to proceed without changes.
Starting off with your top story tonight, the Attorney General informed the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court today that former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit to the United Kingdom to attend his wife's graduation ceremony has been revealed not to be an official visit. Additional Solicitor General Dilip Apiris, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, made this submission when the case against former President Ranil Wickremesinghe was taken up again in court today. The case concerns allegations that he undertook a private visit using more than 15 million rupees of public funds within a span of 36 hours. Meanwhile, the second suspect in the case, former Presidential Secretary Somisara Bandara Ekanaika, also known as Saman Ekanaika, was ordered to be remanded until the 11th of February.
The case against Ranil Wickremesinghe, filed in connection with the alleged misuse of 16.6 million rupees of public funds during a 36-hour unofficial private visit on the 22nd and 23rd of September 2023 while serving as president, was taken up for hearing today at around 1:20 p.m. before the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court. The second suspect in the case, former Presidential Secretary Saman Ekanaika, who was reportedly evading arrest, also appeared before the court today. Additional Solicitor General Dilip Apiris briefed the court on the progress of the investigation.
Your Honour, as per this court's directive, on the 13th of November, a team of CID investigators travelled to London on the Attorney General's instructions to conduct inquiries related to this matter. Upon learning of this, 3 President's Counsel, Anuja Premaratna, Ronald Pereira and another, went to meet the Attorney General. They did not go to discuss this case. Their intention was to obstruct the investigation. How did this happen? These 3 counsel sought out Shani Abesekara, seeking if he was conducting the investigation with the Attorney General's approval.
The Fort Magistrate Isuru Nettikumara questioned the Additional Solicitor General on whether CID officers had conducted the investigations in the United Kingdom with the approval of the Attorney General. Responding to the query, the Additional Solicitor General said, "Yes, Your Honour." Extract.
Your Honour, statements were recorded from former High Commissioner Saroja Sirisena and all members of the London High Commission regarding this investigation. In her statement, Mrs. Sirisena said that a seat had been reserved for Ranil Wickremesinghe on the balcony at the graduation ceremony and that he did not deliver any speech or engage in any official act there. She also said that the graduation ceremony was not exclusive to Maitri Wickremesinghe. Several graduates received degrees over a series of ceremonies held across multiple days. Your Honour, the first suspect had only been allocated a balcony seat. He was not an official guest at the ceremony.
At this point, the magistrate stated that based on the evidence submitted so far, it appears that Wickremesinghe's visit was a private one. Extract.
From the investigations conducted, the court court must be informed whether any material has surfaced indicating that this visit was undertaken for even a minor official purpose.
Extract.
Your Honour, no state leader attended this graduation ceremony to welcome Ranil Wickremesinghe. During the September 22nd and 23rd visit, the first suspect's secretary, the second suspect, Somisara Bandaranaike, did not accompany him. However, for the official visits to Cuba and the United States, from the 13th of September to the 20th, the second suspect was present. This clearly shows that the second suspect knew that the September 22nd and 23rd trip was not an official visit. That is why he did not participate. Furthermore, if this had been an official tour, photographer Chintaka Prasanna from the Presidential Media Unit would have travelled with him. In his statement, he says there are no photographs of Ranil Wickremesinghe's trip on 22nd and 23rd of September. If it were an official visit, would the official presidential photographer return without taking a single photograph? Your Honour, this makes it abundantly clear this was not an official visit.
The Additional Solicitor General further informed the court that investigations had also been carried out regarding the letter submitted to the court by the defence, which claimed that the visit in question was an official tour based on documentation purportedly from the University of Wolverhampton. Extract.
We recorded 13 statements regarding that letter. Not a single statement confirms that this letter came through the High Commission. Your Honour, this was not an official visit. Furthermore, Your Honour, the first suspect claimed he travelled to meet Gordon Brown, and since that appointment was cancelled, he then attended his wife's graduation ceremony. Gordon Brown, however, served as UK Prime Minister 13 years ago.
Details regarding the second suspect, Saman Ekanaika, were also presented to court. Extract.
Your Honour, the Attorney General instructed that the former Presidential Secretary Somisara Bandaranaike, also known as Saman Ekanaika, be taken into custody as the second suspect in this case. Accordingly, on the 22nd, officers went to his residence to arrest him. He has been missing since the 22nd. Your Honour, he behaved like a seasoned criminal. He switched off his phone and left with his wife. Before leaving, he even handed his neighbour some fish, asking them to feed his cat.
The Additional Solicitor General stated that the second suspect had acted to give an official character to what was, in reality, an unofficial visit. Extract.
Your Honour, the initial documents relating to this visit refer to it as a private tour. Later, it is changed to tour. Afterwards, it is altered again to official tour. The second suspect knowingly approved funds for which he understood to be a private visit.
Additional Solicitor General Dilip Piris noted that as Presidential Secretary, the suspect had a direct responsibility when approving these expenses, and he failed to exercise due diligence or act with proper caution. President's Counsel Tilak Marapana, appearing for Ranil Wickremesinghe, argued that no statement had been obtained from the University of Wolverhampton regarding the matter. He said investigators must direct attention to this immediately. President's Counsel Kalinga Indatissa, appearing for the second suspect Saman Ekanaika, made a bail application on his behalf. Extract.
Your Honour, my client has appeared before this court on several prior occasions. He has not avoided the court. The allegation against him is merely assisting and facilitating. There is no substantial basis to deny bail. Therefore, I request that he be released on bail.
The Additional Solicitor General informed the court that the investigations could be completed within 1 month. Extract.
Your Honour, investigations relating to the first suspect are now complete. Tomorrow, we seek permission to record a statement from the second suspect inside the prison. Based on that, we may have to record further statements from the first suspect. However, Your Honour, 1 month is sufficient to conclude the investigations. Investigations have been conducted as per the previous order of this court. However, no statement has yet been recorded from the University of Wolverhampton. Therefore, steps must be taken to obtain a statement from the university, even via email. The case will be recalled on the 29th of April at 2 p.m. to review progress. The prosecution is ordered to complete the investigations by that date. The matter regarding the second suspect will be taken up on the 11th of February at 2 p.m.
The Supreme Court today ordered that notices be issued to a group including former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. This order was given when a fundamental rights petition filed by Dr. Ravindranath Dabari was taken up for consideration.
The Supreme Court has directed the petitioner's lawyers to issue notices to a group including former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in relation to a fundamental rights petition seeking an order to recover compensation allegedly paid unlawfully to former ministers and members of parliament. The petition concerns compensation granted for property damage incurred during the unrest following the attack on the Aragalaya protest site on the 9th of May 2022. Accordingly, the court directed that notices be served to the following respondents named in the petition: former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, former Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne, former IGP C.D. Vikramaratne, former Navy Commander Nishantha Ulugethanne, former Public Security Ministers Prasanna Ranatunga and Tiran Alas, and former Secretary to the Ministry of Public Security Jagat Alves. The petition was called before a Supreme Court bench comprising Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena and Justice Gihan Kulatunga. Attorney at Law Gamini Pereira, appearing for the petitioner, informed the court that the correct addresses of the respondents, including former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, had been submitted to the court in accordance with the previous order. The bench scheduled the petition to be taken up for further consideration on the 8th of May. The petitioner states that during a parliamentary statement on the 5th of February last year, Minister Dr. Nalinda Jadisa revealed that the then government had paid 1.22 billion rupees in compensation to 43 individuals regarding the incidents where houses of ministers and MPs were attacked and set on fire across the island on the 9th of May 2022. The petitioner points out that under the existing regulations, even in the case of a natural disaster, the maximum compensation that can be paid is 2.5 million rupees. However, certain former ministers have reportedly obtained compensation exceeding this legal limit, which the petitioner argues is entirely contrary to the law.
What has happened to the investigation into the assassination of senior journalist Lasantha Vikramatunga? Journalist Lasantha Runage made a revelation regarding this in Colombo yesterday.
අවසන් වශයෙන් අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ විමර්ශන කරලා යනකොට
During the final stages of the investigation by the Criminal Investigations Department into the murder of Lasantha Vikramatunga, it was revealed that 5 SIM cards issued at the Tripoli Army camp were actually used to track his vehicle in the Attidia area. Similarly, in the case of the disappearance of Prageet Ekneligoda, CID investigation showed that he was taken from Colombo and ultimately held for a period at the Giritale Army Intelligence Headquarters. These details were fully uncovered during the investigation. However, the CID had requested additional information regarding vehicles entering and leaving the camp in the days that followed, and this information was not provided. The first point to note is that the military is known to operate as a highly disciplined institution. Every action within the military is recorded. Even a regular soldier entering a military camp must have their entry, exit and vehicle movements documented. Similarly, if a number of SIM cards are issued to members of the military, records of their distribution and usage must exist. It was later revealed that Keith Noya was abducted and subjected to violence. Investigations also showed that a military team was present throughout these events. Upali Tennakon was attacked during an attempted abduction, and Namal Pereira also tried to abduct him through force. All of these events occurred under the watch of military units, as confirmed by the CID investigation. The current issue is that these unresolved crimes concern only a few specific incidents. We know that in our country, investigations, particularly by the CID or other special divisions of the police are often ineffective. Technical challenges have allowed suspects to escape prosecution, yet the police have managed in some cases to identify perpetrators and bring them to court. Why has it been so difficult to resolve these cases? I do not believe that any military member, by personal motivation, had the need to murder Lasantha Wickrematunge, abduct Prageethek Naligoda or kidnap Upali Tennakon. These actions were carried out as part of a contract. They were required to follow orders issued by higher authorities. The fact that these crimes remained unresolved demonstrates that orders were indeed given. We know that these orders come from political authority, those who held state power at the relevant times. The orders were executed through retired and active military units assigned to commit these crimes. The problem now is that these cases have remained unresolved despite promises of action from sitting presidents. To address these crimes, there must be a political leadership and the courage to act independently of personal interests. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Tri-Forces, Anrukumara Dissanayake, could at the conclusion of the investigations provide information about who the SIM cards were issued at the Tripoli Army camp as well as related matters at the Girithale Army Intelligence Headquarters. Yet this did not happen. The information remains unreported. Military law is strict. Even retired senior officers like former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca could be prosecuted for offences committed during their service. Under military law, if an officer committed any misuse offence or crime while in service, they could face action even after retirement. This is done through what is called the court-martial system. The first requirement is that Anrukumara Dissanayake, as Commander-in-Chief, must issue clear orders regarding these specific matters, as promised by the President. If these orders are not given, further directives must be issued to the relevant officials. Even those who have retired but are still serving within the military structures must be subject to military law. Only by issuing these orders and taking proper action under military law can these cases be resolved. Only then can justice be served to the media and society.
ඔවුන්ට විරුද්ධව හමුදා නීතිය යටතේ කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා. ඒතකොට තමයි මේක විසඳන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට තමයි අපිට ජනමාධ්‍ය සමාජයේ යුක්තිය ඉටු වෙන්නේ.
The book titled Who is Lasantha, authored by senior journalist Sanath Balasuriya regarding the assassination of Lasantha Wickrematunge, was launched yesterday at the Colombo Public Library. On the 8th February 2009, just a few weeks after the assassination of Lasantha Wickrematunge, on the January 8th, then Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa questioned who is Lasantha during an interview with international media. Based on that statement, a broad discourse was later built within the country regarding the series of events behind this assassination.
Who is Lasantha Wickrematunge? He is just another person. There are so many murders in everywhere. In the whole world there are murders. Why are you asking about Lasantha? Who is Lasantha? He is somebody who was writing to a tabloid.
Yeah, but you know what's been said.
I'm not concerned about that.
But you know
the people are panicking. Why are people are so worried about one man? The LTT killed so many people. Why are you not asking about them?
Attending the book launch of Who is Lasantha, the brother of Lasantha Wickrematunge stated that serious measures had been taken over the past period to conceal evidence of this crime.
Even though the truth is plain to see and there is a prevailing idea that there is no hope of bringing the suspects of Lasantha's murder to court, as a family, it is difficult for us to accept that. The names of Lasantha's killers are known. One of them is now bedridden and disabled due to natural causes. He said, "I didn't carry out the attack. I only rode the motorcycle." To conceal the evidence of Lasantha's murder, 4 people have been killed so far. A former IGP is a suspect against whom there is evidence of being knowingly involved in the killing of 2 of them.
Newsfirst with the people.
The IMF mission has emphasized that there would be no changes to the agreement relating to the Extended Fund Facility program being implemented with Sri Lanka. The IMF mission made these remarks during a meeting with President Anrukumara Dissanayake held at the President's office today.
A meeting between representatives of the International Monetary Fund, who arrived in Sri Lanka to assess the damage caused by Cyclone Ditwa, and President Andrukumara Dissanayake was held this morning at the Presidential Secretariat. The IMF delegation had travelled across the island to observe first-hand the damage caused by Cyclone Ditwa and met with communities affected by its impact. The representatives expressed their regret over the disaster, which occurred at a time when Sri Lanka's economy was gradually recovering. In a release issued by the President's Media Division, it said that the IMF mission commended the government's swift actions to provide relief to affected communities, develop infrastructure and restore normalcy to people's lives while confronting the challenges posed by the disaster. The PMD further noted that many members of the public they had spoken to had expressed appreciation for the manner in which the government had responded, describing it as a significant achievement. Emphasizing that Sri Lanka is currently moving in the right economic direction despite facing a severe disaster situation, the IMF representatives stated that there would be no changes to the agreement relating to the extended fund facility program being implemented with Sri Lanka. They added that discussions relating to the release of the sixth tranche under the program would resume in March.
Sri Lanka's ongoing extended fund facility with the International Monetary Fund remains intact and unchanged despite the economic uncertainties triggered by the devastating cyclone of November. IMF Mission Chief Evan Papageorgiou said, signalling a crucial return visit to Colombo in a matter of weeks. He made the statement to a group of reporters in Colombo.
We will be coming back to Sri Lanka in a matter of weeks or so, and then we will discuss a lot of the issues and how the effect of the cyclone should be reflected in the program. The fundamental structure of the program is still the same, because up until the cyclone on November 27, 28, the program was performing strongly. Obviously, the cyclone came at a difficult time and created some additional uncertainties. To the extent that these uncertainties will affect some parameters, such as some quantitative performance criteria, that will have to be discussed with the authorities and see the accommodation that would entail. But the program itself, as it is, stands as, in its current form.
A question to Mr. Evan is, are there any areas of concern that you had with the Sri Lanka's program in your meetings with the President and the government today?
So I think every review gives us an opportunity to look at things in depth, and when we come back, we will be looking exactly on what informs our assessment, and that will come down obviously to incorporating the recent economic developments, obviously the effect of the cyclone, and the subsequent support that was given by the government, updating our macroeconomic projections for the foreseeable future, and then as needed, adjusting any sort of program parameters and conditionality. So one important issue that we'll be looking is exactly that, how to incorporate this, and then beyond that, we will see also how does the rest of program conditionality go. I should mention that at the time when the cyclone hit, we were getting ready to go to our executive board for the fifth review of the EFF. Of course, the event, the cyclone was not an effect, not a problem, not a mistake that somebody made. It wasn't a policy decision. It was obviously a natural disaster, and so to bring it back to what the discussion is that we need to accommodate it within the existing EFF. And so the EFF is still here with us. We just need to come back and see how it fits. In terms of what are we going to do when we come back? Of course, the next review we need to complete the fifth review. What you mentioned about combining reviews is also a live discussion. We will discuss this and we'll get back to you on this.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to maintain its overnight policy interest rate at the current level of 7.75%. The decision comes after thorough consideration of evolving developments and the outlook on the domestic front and global uncertainties.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to keep its overnight policy rate unchanged at a rate of 7.75%. This was decided due to moving towards a target of inflation rates at 5%. However, there have been a certain increase of food prices due to the cyclone disruptions. However, the Monetary Policy Board as well as the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has reassured the people that Sri Lanka's economy will continue to be resilient.
The CBSL asserted that despite a the recent hits to the country by Cyclone Ditwa, the inflation expectations appear to be well anchored around the inflation target. According to the Monetary Policy Review, inflation measured by the Colombo Consumer Price Index remained unchanged at 2.1% in December 2025. However, food prices edged higher in December compared to November due to supply chain disruptions caused by Cyclone Ditwa and higher demand for food during the festive season. Core inflation is expected to accelerate further as demand in the economy strengthens. CBSL added that the economy grew by 5% during the first 9 months of 2025, and despite the slowdown in economic activity following Cyclone Ditwa in late 2025, early indicators reflect greater resilience. Meanwhile, Governor of the CBSL, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, responding to a question raised, highlighted that Sri Lanka may not have any impact in terms of trade, as we were able to negotiate a tariff of 20% imposed by the US, which is comparable with other competitive countries.
The IMF's global outlook has warned that there are certain trade tensions and geopolitical risks that could threaten the emerging markets in 2026 of this year. In your opinion, what external shocks pose the biggest risk to Sri Lanka right now?
Trade shocks has been there all the time. It started from last year, April, when these tariff announcements were made by US administration. Since then, there has been volatility, there has been trade diversions, or higher and lower tariffs for some countries. It has been changing all the time. But in our case, we have been able to negotiate a steady 20% comparable with all the other competitive countries. So I don't see an impact in terms of trade for Sri Lanka because we were able to negotiate up to 20% tariff, which is comparable with other competitive countries, that we hope that will remain. But we can see other countries' tariffs are being changed from week to a week basis sometimes. And there has been some bilateral trade agreements have been signed recently. India has signed one with EU. We also had duty-free access to UK market recently. Like those trade agreements also changing and happening. So there could be some trade diversion and trade flows could be volatile. But I don't think from our small market, we don't expect that's going to be a significant.
In your opinion, how exposed do you think Sri Lanka is to global protectionism, and what buffers has the Sri Lanka Central Bank recommended to be built for this?
It's important one that you mentioned that any external shock or even internal shock, what's important is to build sufficient buffers. That's the only way authorities or administration or government can mitigate the impact of any kind of unexpected shock. It's useful to have a building buffers. This is where, from the government fiscal side, government had built additional cash buffers so that they will be able to now spend that additional, use that buffer to mitigate the impact to the economy from the government side by spending that now money. Central bank side, the buffers we are building is, as I said earlier, foreign exchange reserves that we have highest since crisis 6.8 billion. We continue to build that. Those are important buffers. If there's any shock, we can use those buffers to mitigate the shock. And in the monetary policy side, if we think there's a shock in terms of demand, we have instruments to deal with that in monetary policy instruments. That's why it's important to build buffers, the fiscal policy, the foreign exchange reserves, and also monetary policy buffers. Those are key macro buffers. It's important that we see the benefit of those buffers with the recent shock, and that's why in 2022 we didn't have any buffer. That's why we went through a very difficult economic crisis, because country did not have sufficient buffers to mitigate those risks that arose as a result of crisis.
Director of the Asia and Pacific Department under the IMF, Dr. Krishna Srinivasan, says Sri Lanka has made remarkable strides in coming back from the crisis and stabilizing its economy across 3 dimensions. He expressed these views during a public lecture on IMF Regional Economic Outlook, Asia and Pacific.
As you all know, this is the fund supported program was based on a bunch of key objectives. It was the whole fund support program was based on 5 key pillars. How has the program done? Now, you have heard us say this many times. that Sri Lanka has made remarkable strides in coming back from the crisis and stabilizing its economy across three dimensions. First, growth has bounced back decisively after the crisis, turning positive about 6 months into the program. In fact, growth has been averaging about 5% per year in more recent periods. Second, the one key factor which led to the crisis was tax revenue or revenue loss was very significant. And what we've seen is a significant turnaround in how Sri Lanka has done in terms of fiscal revenues. Tax revenue in particular has doubled from about 7.3% of GDP, which was extremely low in the run-up to the crisis, to about 14.8% of GDP in 2025. So this has been a key measure of how you see things have come back in the country. And the last thing is prices have come down in a very convincing manner. I remember talking about in my first press conference prices being at about 70%. Now prices are in the range of 2 to 3%, and one would hope that in the next few quarters it would reach the central bank's target of 5%. So overall, the program has delivered on many of its objectives. There's still a long way to go in terms of securing strong, sustained, balanced growth, but the program is off to a very good start, and the country and all of you, the authorities and the people of Sri Lanka, need to be congratulated on the progress made so far on the fund-supported program.
The program was followed by a question and answer session where IMF Mission Chief for Sri Lanka stated that there are no plans to change the debt to sustainability ratio as of now.
Spoke about debt vulnerabilities in Asia. So in terms of Sri Lanka, has there been a request by the government to change the debt to sustainability ratio? Because in Sri Lanka, we also have the opposition saying that this needs to be changed. If so, what is your expertise on this?
In our discussions with the authorities, this question has not been raised. This is an ongoing discussion we are having. Under the ongoing review of the EFF, we periodically come and we look into all inputs that go into any DSA or any sustainability analysis. The parameters of that sustainability analysis have already been laid out. And under those assumptions, debt is sustainable on a forward-looking basis, subject to the completion of the ongoing debt restructuring, which is almost complete. So to answer your question, no, nothing has changed.
The public lecture on IMF Regional Economic Outlook, Asia and Pacific was attended by several high-level figures and also featured Dr. Thomas Helbling, Deputy Director of the Asia and Pacific Department under the IMF.
The price of a 24-carat gold sovereign in the local market has risen significantly to 205,000 rupees today. This follows a price increase of 10,000 rupees per sovereign compared to yesterday.
The price of a 22-carat gold sovereign was recorded at 374,600 rupees today. This situation has arisen following a surge in gold prices in the global market. Signifying the highest price ever recorded in history, the price of a gold ounce in the global market has risen to $5,215 US.
The most significant factor here is de-dollarization. Central banks across the globe are currently in the process of repurchasing gold for their balance sheets as a safe haven asset. Since 1971, the US dollar held that dominant position. However, many countries are now strengthening their balance sheets by accumulating gold instead of US dollars. Furthermore, the US stock market is heavily inflated, almost reaching bubble territory, and we see similar conditions in many other countries. Institutional investors are shifting their portfolios. They are moving out of US dollars and exiting stock markets. These investors are now moving into safe haven assets like gold. I don't believe retail consumption is the primary driver of this price hike, though it does disadvantage the general public. With rising prices, the ability to use gold as jewelry diminishes. However, even for them, it remains a good investment. Since central banks purchase in massive volumes, we cannot predict exactly where this price will stop, and I don't believe it will stop anytime soon.
For sports items, b2b.lk.
A local government councillor from the Samagijana Balavegya assaulted a person during a protest held in Kalutara today against the proposed education reforms.
The assault was carried out by Jayanath Navaratna Samagijana Balavegya, local government councillor from Kalutara. The young man who was assaulted allegedly for obstructing a peaceful protest was later taken into custody by the police and released on police bail. The local government councillor was also arrested this afternoon in connection with the assault charge.
Meanwhile, the Udunura chief organizer of the Samagijana Balavegya, attorney at law Madhava Jayawardhana, and a group of supporters recently performed a ritual at the Ambaka Sri Katharagama Devalaya in Udunura, demanding that the education reforms be halted immediately.
අලුත් ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ ගෙනල්ලා තියෙනවා. මේක දැන් අපේ රටේ සංස්කෘතියට අපේ රටේ තියෙන මේ ක්‍රමයට ගැලපෙන්නේ නැති විදිහට තමයි මේ කට්ටිය මේ අලුත් විදේශ රටවල් වල වමනාවට තමයි එක එක ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ ගෙනල්ලා රට විනාශ කරගෙන යන්නේ.
While the regional leaders of the Samagijana Balavegya oppose the education reforms, what does the party leader have to say?
අපි පාරට පස්සලා තියෙනවා. පාරට පස්සන් නැතුව මේව කඩාකප්පල් කරන්න බෑ. අපි එහෙම කරේත් නැහැ. ඉතින් අපි කිසිසේත්ම මේ කල් දැමීමට සම්බන්ධ නැහැ. දැන් විපක්ෂයේ අපි කිසිසේත්ම විරුද්ධ නැහැ ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ. මම එකක් කියන්න අපි කැමති මේක තව වේගවත් වෙනවා. ඕන්න නැත්ත කතා.
What has happened to the Samagijana Balavegya? Here is the explanation given by Government MP Nishantha Samarabira during yesterday's Satana program.
There are certain chameleons who can change their color instantly. Now the leader of the opposition has been forced to behave in that same manner. Previously, he first claimed that there was some vulgarity in education reforms and that this must be stopped. Even now, they are deploying their groups to hold protests and keep talking about vulgarity. However, yesterday he makes a statement saying, "We didn't say that. It is the government that has stopped this. Why was it stopped?" Now that is a bizarre claim. Furthermore, if you look at the process of suspending the Deputy Secretary General of Parliament recently, despite it being a decision made by a committee he was part of, he comes out and makes a completely different statement. They have entered into a process where there is absolutely no sense of shame. They don't have natural slogans. They are existing within artificially manufactured ones. Now, this group in the opposition, especially the Samagijana Balavegya, drags on a narrative of vulgarization into everything. No matter what is done for society, they try to craft an answer using some kind of vulgar rhetoric. They are truly trying to take society to a place it should not go. Instead of the realities of these events, they pick on a boundary where they can survive and weave some kind of profanity or obscene story to attack the issue. After that, the actual truth cannot reach society. Even regarding the education reforms, they made a massive effort to label the entire process as vulgar. The whole movement was leaning towards that word. I ask you, who has ever gotten a clear idea about what the SJB actually thinks? Now, these gentlemen say the opposition is there to guide the government. I must ask, what path have you actually shown?
Meanwhile, the Samagijana Balavegya, which previously announced a no-confidence motion against Harini Amarasuriya but continues to delay it, held a press conference today stating that they might also have to bring a no-confidence motion against the Speaker. The General Secretary of the Samagijana Balavegya explained the facts regarding this matter.
The Speaker is someone appointed by a party. In the history of this country, although the Speaker is appointed by a party, once they take the chair, the Speaker is independent. But now there are people inside Parliament who give signals and control the Speaker. The Speaker works according to what they say. We are currently discussing matters regarding the Speaker. It is not that we just have something against him, but the way he is behaving. It looks like we'll have to bring a no-confidence motion in the future. No, we don't bring these things at times when the government wants or when others want. We will bring this at the time we choose.
What is the government's response to the opposition's no-confidence motions?
On several occasions in Parliament, we told them to present the no-confidence motion they brought against the Prime Minister before bringing one against the Speaker. Furthermore, at the last Committee on Parliamentary Business held late Thursday, I, as the government whip, requested the opposition to let us know whether they are bringing the no-confidence motion or not, so we can plan the work for February. Their side said that there is no preparation to bring the no-confidence motion right now, and that they will bring it after observing the right time. So while SJB MPs are out on the streets protesting against education reforms, and while their local council members are wearing black bands, we are wondering when they will finally bring this no-confidence motion that they are still not presenting. There is no use of posting photos saying they are signing no-confidence motions. What we want is for them to quickly bring whatever no-confidence motion or any motion of destruction they have. I believe we will be able to resolve many issues if they actually bring that no-confidence motion.
Meanwhile, a group within the opposition led by Patali Champika Ranavaka and Dayasiri Jayasekara has launched active political activities under the banner Dinana Dakuna. As a step in this initiative, a political dialogue program was held in Colombo yesterday.
Before even getting to what we would do after forming a government, I would like to ask, are we fulfilling our roles as the opposition? And how do we take our power as the opposition to build a future government? Because of this, several such crises have emerged for us.
The second phase of the LOLC Divisavia You, Me, Our Nation social welfare program continued for its 25th consecutive day today. The operations were carried out centering on the Kandy, Badulla and Kurunegala districts.
The renovated facilities at the Baulana Primary School in the Kandy district and the Navalavatta Tamil School in the Badulla district, both of which were affected by recent disasters, were handed over to the students this morning. Similarly, a renovated building at the Sri Gunananda Vidyalaya in Kurunegala was officially vested in the students this morning. Furthermore, the renovated constructions at the Mahinda Model School in the Kandy district and the Uber Science College in the Badulla district were handed over to the students this afternoon. A renovated facility at the Bhattaruka Mahavidyalaya in Kurunegala was also vested in the students this afternoon. The LOLC Divisavya social welfare program is dedicated solely to the people of Sri Lanka.
A press conference was convened today to provide details regarding the exposition of the sacred relics of Lord Buddha, which is scheduled to be held at the Hunupitiya Gangaramaya Temple in Colombo starting from the 4th of February.
Venerable Dr. Kirinde Asachithera, the Chief Incumbent of the Gangarama Temple, Dr. Satyanjal Pandey, the Deputy High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, and Gamagedara Disanayaka, the Deputy Minister of Buddha Sasana, were among the participants at the press conference held at the Department of Government Information. The exposition of the sacred relics is scheduled to take place from the 4th to the 11th of February.
As a result of discussions between the Sri Lankan President and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a sacred relic of Lord Buddha, originally discovered at the ancient Samlaji temple near Ahmedabad in Gujarat and currently housed at the Baroda Museum, will be brought to Sri Lanka.
Up next is Corporate Brief.
Browns EV proudly unveiled the BAW M8, marking a major milestone with the distribution of 1,500 electric vehicles across the island. Built for versatility, generous space and dependable everyday performance, the M8 is engineered to meet the real demands of modern mobility. With the arrival of the BAW M8, Brown's EV sets a new benchmark for commercial electric mobility, now driving progress on Sri Lankan roads.
South Asia's largest K1 combat sports tournament, the Karma Fight League, will once again be promoted in Sri Lanka this year with the support of the MTV-MBC network. The face-off event to introduce the fighters was held today. This year marks the 7th edition of the Karma Fight League tournament. The MBC-MTV Media Network is partnering as the official media sponsor for the 3rd consecutive year. Today's face-off event in Colombo saw the participation of local and international fighters, MBC Chief Operating Officer Buddhi Vikramanayaka, Yes FM channel head Manilal Fernando and officials from the KFL Organizing Committee. As a media network playing a major role in the development of sports in Sri Lanka, the MTV-MBC Media Network extends its support to the tournament with the aim of uplifting and promoting this rapidly growing combat sport. The MTV-MBC Media Network is partnering as the official media sponsor for the 3rd consecutive year.
MTV-MBC, the Maharaja Media, we have a long-standing legacy in backing Sri Lanka sporting events. So today we are very proud to announce that we partnered with KFL, which is happening on this Friday, and this is the 3rd time MTV-MBC is partnering with KFL, and this is not only going to create the excitement, and also I think this will boost the sporting tourism in Sri Lanka. So we are very excited for the game day.
KFL 007 is something to look forward to. We've got the best fighters in Sri Lanka and 2 of Sri Lanka's best going head to head for the Extreme Championship. That's something to look forward to, and it's going to be a history-making event. Lots of people have been interested and lots of people have been invested in this fight. I think about 70% of the ticket sales have also been mainly to watch 2 of Sri Lanka's top 2 fighters go head to head. We've also got fantastic talent coming from India, Nepal and of course Pakistan.
Combat styles featuring in the KFL include karate, Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The tournament has gained significant popularity across countries such as India, Nepal, Thailand, Iran, Germany and the United States. A special award sponsored by Yes FM will also be presented to the most outstanding fighter of this year's competition. The 2026 edition of the Karma Fight League is scheduled to take place tomorrow in Colombo. And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.